Yes, guys, welcome to the Game Week 14 deadline live stream. I have to apologise once again. I am late to my own live stream. For those that are regular, know that this is a regular occurrence, so I do apologise. But it's great to see some people already in the chat. Cheekster, as always, and Mortal Technique, hope you're doing well. I could also see Dawn, Anton, Sammy, anybody else who is in the chat. Please do let yourself known. And as always, if you can drop a like on the live stream, it is always massively appreciated, as it just kind of shares it out to those that maybe need a little bit of FPL advice, and also it shows me that you're actually enjoying the thing. If you're not enjoying it, do not worry about a thing. So, as you know, it's 9:30, 9:25 in the UK, and I'm on a live stream. It's not actually the deadline anytime soon. It's actually a 1:30 p.m. UK time deadline, so we have quite a long time until the deadline. However, I do play football myself, so unfortunately I will be missing the deadline myself, which is killer. So I am here to obviously answer any early questions. I've also made a transfer, so I'm going to exclusively reveal that on this stream. And it's worth noting, I'm probably going to make another transfer to my team as well. So as always, this isn't one of those where I'm going to ramble for ages and then answer the questions at the end. The whole purpose of this is to answer all of your questions from the get-go. So, without further ado, let's get into these questions. And again, massive shout out for you guys tuning into this live stream. I am massively, massively appreciative. So, Cheekster, good morning, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Most Technique, I hope you're doing well. Cheekster, you have 2 free transfers, but feel like I need to make more than 2 changes this week. I have Cash, Bowen, Watkins, also Son and Trippier can go, I think, to help bring Haaland back into the team. Okay, so Cheeksy, yeah, you're in a bit of a spot right now where those that went without Erling Haaland are probably seeing the Spurs fixture followed by, I believe, the Luton fixture and thinking, oh God, I need him in my team. So if you need to pull the trigger, I think this is a good week to do so. You're getting the Spurs fixture, which I think we know it's going to be a tough game for Man City, but defensively or offensively for City, I think it's a very good fixture. If you were looking at a route to get him, obviously I would need to know the money in the bank that you have available to get there. But I do think bringing in Haaland long-term is the right move. All I will say to you is make sure you are understanding of the Game Week 18 blank that Man City do have. So you will be buying a player that inevitably blanks this game week. Dawn, hope you're doing well. What do? I have 1 free transfer and 1.3 million in the bank. My team is Areola Flecken, okay, decent goalkeeper rotation. Taylor, Guy, Shimikas, Cash, Saliba, Bowen, Saka, Gordon, Salah, Diaby, Watkins, Haaland, Archer. Okay, so first and foremost, your team's looking good. If I was to pick an 11 right now to field for Game Week 14 off the top of my head, then I obviously would go for Flecken with that brilliant home fixture against Luton. I would then definitely play Shimikas. I would definitely play Saliba. And I'll be very tempted to play Taylor over Matty Cash just because we know he's definitely going to play. And Cash is a little bit of a rotation risk this weekend. Then your midfield 5 picks itself: Bowen, Saka, Gordon, Salah, Diaby, with obviously the risk of Jared Bowen, and the Watkins, Haaland, Archer. You'd play Watkins and Haaland. So your situation right now, you obviously have 2 players that are flagged, Bowen and Watkins, and I don't think we're going to get any clarification between now and the deadline what is going to happen. So I'm a manager that owns both Bowen and Watkins. I felt like Bowen to Mbeumo was more of a priority move than Watkins to Darwin Núñez. And in your situation, I would be very tempted to make that Bowen to Mbeumo move. Now, what I'm telling a lot of people is this: you are in a situation where you naturally could get burnt if Bowen does play at home against Crystal Palace. But over a 3-game week fixture, I believe Bowen has the higher chance of playing more minutes. He's on penalties, which is a big factor, and he's guaranteed to play all those games, which is massive. So based on that, I like the Bowen to Mbeumo move. I wouldn't take a 0.6 to do Watkins to Darwin, though it is worth noting. Anton saying Watkins to Darwin from -4. That is obviously segued perfectly into that question. I personally don't think it is worth the -4. It definitely could repay itself this game week. Realistically, Watkins has the Bournemouth away game. If he's out for that, he then has Arsenal at home and Man City at home. Both really tricky games. At Villa Park, I fancy Aston Villa to score against any team, but Arsenal have the best away record of any team defensively, and we know Man City are obviously a good team as well. I don't expect Aston Villa to dominate the game there. So you're selling a player that once he returns from injury is guaranteed minutes for a player like Darwin who has high ceiling but obviously high risk. For a -4, I would only do it if your bench is absolutely decimated and you have no player that could come in if the situation of Ollie Watkins not playing does emerge. While we're getting into the questions, and guys, if you have just jumped into this, please do get your questions in the comment sections. We're just going to fly through these today and answer as many as I possibly can. I think it'd be really valuable for all of us to do a quick poll to see who everybody's going to be captain in this game week, because Haaland versus Salah is basically the debate. We've had tricky game weeks where there's been no good captain, and it's all about picking the lesser of the evils, whereas this week we have two phenomenal options this game week, and it's all about just hedging your bets on one. And I've done a video on this on TikTok where I've said that I honestly think Haaland and Salah are neck and neck this game week, and I think you just accept that both are brilliant picks. And if we do get one of those game weeks where, for example, you go for Haaland, he gets a 2-pointer, and Mo Salah gets a 25-pointer, I think we just have to accept that it is what it is sometimes. And those sort of point swings happen in FPL, and you just put your hands up and say, I went for my pick, I know it was a good move, and unfortunately it just didn't pay off this game week. That's the way I would view it myself. So let's get the poll in firstly. So who is your game week 14 El Capitano? And we're just going to have Haaland, Salah. I mean, is there anyone else? I'll put a Saka in there. I'm going to put an other. I'll be super interested if you do vote for other to let me know in the comment section. If you just put captain dash and then your captain, just to let me know if you went for the other option, because I'm really intrigued if there are any other considerations outside of Mo Salah and Haaland. Maybe you're one of those managers that has neither, and then your hand is forced a little bit going into this weekend. So Sammy's saying I have one free transfer with Cash and Bowen and 0.1 million in the bank. For defenders, I have Saliba, Lascelles, Shimikas, Taylor, so your defence is absolutely fine. Midfielders, Salah, Mbeumo, Son and Diaby. Not sure who to bring in or roll to next week. Okay, so in your situation, you could easily field a defensive unit of Saliba, like you've mentioned. That's absolutely fine this week. And then the midfield four is not a problem. I see some people selling Diaby, but I don't think it's a desperate sell this weekend. There's going to be even more emphasis on Diaby going into this weekend if Watkins is ruled out. So I don't think Diaby is a desperate sell. And yes, you don't have an Arsenal midfielder, but with 0.1 million in the bank, don't really see how you could get to Bukayo Saka, and that's the only player that I would realistically look to bring in. So if I was in your situation right now, I personally would roll the free transfer. I don't think you desperately need to make any move. The one advice I would say to you is if you're keeping Bowen, I would start him and hope for the best. I don't really see a situation where Bowen comes off the bench. I think he either starts or gets 0 minutes. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. Dawn, my friend's team, what should they do? One free transfer, 1.9 million in the bank. Their team is Areola and Turner. Okay, you start Areola obviously every week. Taylor, Guy, Romero, Cash, Gabriel, Bowen, Saka, Gordon, Salah and Mbeumo, Watkins, Haaland and Mabama. Okay, so you'd obviously start Areola. No problems there. I don't think you need to sell the goalkeeper this week at all. Taylor is fine this week. Gabriel, and then your third defender is a little bit touch and go. You probably would start Matty Cash. Romero is an issue, but he would be available in game week 15. Bowen, risk. Saka, Gordon, Salah and Mbeumo, fantastic. Watkins, Haaland up top as a 2. So we've only one free transfer. I think we need to look at this and think, what is the big issue in the team? I think you could field 3 defenders and get away with it. I think Taylor, Gabriel, and then you take your pick between Guy as a guarantee starter or Matty Cash as the risk. And then you have to maybe address the midfield situation. Now, I'm not saying Bowen is a desperate sell, but your issue in that situation is you already have Mbeumo, so you don't really have another midfielder that is naturally a temptation. You could downgrade him to Cole Palmer, but I don't think that's a desperate move. Otherwise, the upside chaser move is doing Watkins to, obviously, the big man in Darwin Núñez. In this situation, one free transfer and 1.9 million in the bank. I think if you are worried about the defensive situation in this, I think maybe doing a Romero to Saliba would be a consideration for me. Just get yourself a solid defender that's going to play every week. Jonah, hope you're doing well, my friend. Sam says, start Lascelles or Anderson from Crystal Palace. Love the content, Sam. Thank you so much for tuning in. For me, I would lean towards Lascelles. I think Crystal Palace, with the absence of Doucouré, who's now ruptured his Achilles, could be out for the whole season, is going to hurt them defensively. Really important player for them to break up the play before it actually progresses into the actual defensive line. So for me, I'm going to lean towards saying... Sorry, I just got a message. I just need to make sure it wasn't anything important. Sorry. I'm going to say Lascelles. Guarantee start. They have no one else who can play centre-back. Yes, it's a tricky fixture, but I don't personally fancy a Crystal Palace clean sheet this weekend. Bench Diaby or Anderson. I would say bench Anderson. I would have to start Diaby in that situation. I think it's a good fixture. Not the best, but a good fixture for him. I think I'm going to sell an Eze to Mbeumo, but if I do it, I need to say 0.8, and the easiest way to do so is to downgrade Solanke to Mbeumo, and then game week 15 upgrade Anderson from Newcastle to Parma. I think I'm going to sell an Eze to, but if I do, I need to save 0.8, and the easiest way to do so is to downgrade Solanke to Mbeumo, and then game week 15 upgrade Anderson from Newcastle to Parma. I don't mind it, but is it a free transfer or a point sit? That's the big one. Is Gordon and Darwin good for my wildcard team? Yes, I think they are perfectly fine. What I will say to you is this. Maybe view Darwin Núñez as a 2 or 3 game week punt, and then look to move sideways back to a Watkins and Nkunku, whoever in that position later down the line. I also think Alvarez is worth considering as well. Do I play Watkins or Wood? I'd probably play Watkins because I think he either starts or he gets 0 minutes. I wouldn't be starting Wood unless you sold Watkins to facilitate cash elsewhere. Any updates regarding Watkins? No, nothing right now. What I will do is I will get a tab up on Twitter to see if any sort of in the knows are updating us with any Watkins news. But at the time of recording right now, we don't actually have information regarding Watkins, and I'll be very surprised if we do so between now and then, which is a little bit unfortunate. Damien, hope you're doing well, my friend. Harrison, who is more likely to be fit out of Watkins and Bowen, have 1 free transfer? Harrison, unfortunately, I don't know that information. I would love to sit here and tell you that Bowen is 95% chance of starting and Watkins is 50, but unfortunately, my friend, I don't know on that one. I think it's more of a case of what kind of alternative would you rather own? For me, I think Bowen to Mbeumo is more important than Watkins to Darwin Núñez. That's my personal opinion right now. Mohammed is saying, should I take a -8 hit of Watkins to Isak? I don't like it for a -8. The only reason being is Newcastle are very stretched right now. And with the situation with Newcastle, yes, he is a brilliant option, but obviously going into the Champions League game, a must-win at home against AC Milan, I would be a little bit concerned about his minutes, and Callum Wilson isn't too far away from a return. I like the move. I don't know whether it's going to repay itself long-term. That's my only issue for you there. And Alex is saying, would you take a +4 for Darwin in, Watkins out? I don't love it, but obviously if you're chasing the upside this game week, it's fine. I don't love it, though. It is worth noting. But if you're in that situation where you believe Watkins is going to be ruled out, then pull the trigger. There aren't many better players to do a -4 for. And what I'm saying there is Darwin Núñez is one of those few players in FPL who has that incredible high ceiling where he could get a 15, 16 pointer this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised at it. Whereas other players out there, if you said to me, I'm doing a -4 to bring in like a Gabriel Jesus, I wouldn't feel as encouraged about him getting a huge monster haul, whereas Darwin is just one of those crazy players. You know he's going to get 3 big chances, and it could be today that he actually does deliver them. And Damien's saying best replacement for Eze for me, and Mbeumo is the #1 option. Then we could be looking at some alternatives, maybe getting yourself like a Cole Palmer at a cheaper price, but only go there if it enables you to go elsewhere with your team. So guys, please do keep firing your questions in the comment section. As always, please do drop a like on the stream if you haven't already, and also if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd be massively appreciative if you could, as we are obviously just trying to provide the best content possible. So if you can drop a follow, subscribe, whatever they call it, that is awesome. So without further ado, let's get into my team and how it's looking for the weekend, because I have made a transfer, spoiler alert, and here we are, the team. Hopefully you can see that. Let me know in the comment section if that is a little bit difficult for you to view. I'll try and enlarge it a little bit for it to be a little bit of a better experience for you on your screens. But just to give a bit of context, I had 2 free transfers available, 0 in the bank. I previously owned Jarrod Bowen, and I looked at it and thought to myself, do I think Jarrod Bowen could start this weekend? I think there's definitely a chance that he could. However, do I personally want to go into this weekend with fear that Jarrod Bowen could start, knowing that Mbeumo has Luton at home? I just don't want that. Yes, Jarrod Bowen could start 100%, but I just don't really want that stress in my life, to be honest with you. And if I said to you right now, Jarrod Bowen at home against Crystal Palace or Mbeumo at home against Luton, you probably would just go for Mbeumo. I don't think Luton, as bad as people are making out, it is worth noting. So I'd say we probably would say to ourselves Mbeumo. And then if I said to you, also, one of these players has penalties, and I didn't tell you which, and you were like, well, that's obviously really important, and I told you that was Mbeumo. You're like, okay, that's 2-0 to Mbeumo. And then I said to you, oh, and also, they don't have any European Cup football. They play a system that we know week in, week out, and then it's Mbeumo. So for my personal team, I didn't want the stress. I wanted the confidence that my players are going to be starting this weekend. So I pulled the trigger and I have done Bowen to Mbeumo. And I'm really happy with that. Looking at the fixtures coming up for them, just to give you an idea if you didn't know already, Luton at home, a great entry point for Brian Mbeumo. Brighton away on Wednesday. Like I said, I have no fear that Mbeumo isn't going to play that fixture. It would only be if he took a knock. And just if you were fearful about a player taking a knock, you wouldn't buy any players in FPL. So that isn't a reason not to buy a player. Brian Mbeumo, Brighton away, great fixture. And then, sorry, I can't clear this frog out of my throat. And then Sheffield United away in game week 16. I can confidently sit here and say to you that Brian Mbeumo is going to play significant minutes over this period. And then Aston Villa at home 8 days later, not a bad fixture. The big issue with this that we need to address is game week 18, where they have a blank game week. Now, for my personal team, I think I can navigate that game week without a free hit because my only other investment in City or Brentford is Erling Haaland, and I don't necessarily feel inclined right now to be investing in any other players from those respective teams. So, Mbeumo was an obvious pick for me just to have a stress-free life. But you guys might have a different approach to it. I just wanted to go down that route, and I just think he's a great pick long-term. If you take out that blank, Wolves at home, Palace away, Forest at home, really good long-term fixtures for someone like Mbeumo. Now, if we do look at the West Ham fixtures, just to give you a bit of context, I'm just going to bring up Mbeumo because obviously he plays for West Ham. Looking at it here, if we had a situation where Bowen does miss the Crystal Palace at home game, he then goes away against Spurs. I know Spurs have their difficulties defensively, but Papa Sarr will probably be back potentially for Spurs, and Romero will be back for Spurs, which is going to give him a big boost. And Spurs is just a good team in general. Yes, I know they have their problems defensively, but would I sit here and say to you, I think West Ham are going to score 3 against Spurs? Probably not. Then they have Fulham away, which isn't necessarily a great fixture either. Then we come into Wolves at home in game week 17, which obviously is a favourable fixture, but Mbeumo also has a decent fixture that weekend. So for me, made sense to pull the trigger. Now, the rest of my team pretty much picks itself. The big question here is what to do with Ollie Watkins. So I am blessed in a situation where I have one additional transfer available and I have some money in the bank. So Watkins, we're not going to get anything between now and the deadline, I don't think. Remember, it is a 1:30 p.m. deadline, so we could get something. And I really do recommend, if you are one of those managers who's waiting till the last minute, get yourself on some of those big live streams later today, like Let's Talk FPL. Make sure you're involved on Twitter. I believe FPL Focal has said on his live stream that he could have some information about Watkins, so I would advise checking him out as well. And just top bloke in general, you should all be following him. So, in terms of Ollie Watkins, my situation with him is this. Could he miss this weekend? Definitely. There's no doubt about it. He obviously is at injury risk going into this weekend. So let's play out the worst case scenario here. He misses Bournemouth because he's close, but Unai Emery looks at the fixture list and says to himself, I have 3 days later Man City at home and I need him. Okay. Then he's got Arsenal at home. 2 teams here who defensively are some of the best in the league. Arsenal in particular have the best away defensive record of any team. I believe they have an expected goals conceded of 1 every 120 minutes or something. So it's ridiculous what the numbers that Arsenal are putting up right now. And for my own personal team, I'm going to be going with double Arsenal in that week with Saliba and Gabriel. So I'm going to be counteracting my team as well in that situation. So similar to the Bowen situation, do I want to go into this week with a risk of Ollie Watkins? I think my team could handle it because I have Livramento as first sub and he could easily come in and step in and happy days. But sometimes in FPL, you are presented with an opportunity and you can either go left or you can go right. The sliding doors moments. And Darwin Núñez is calling my name. It is worth noting. Now, let's bring up the fixtures for Liverpool. Fulham at home this weekend. And it's worth noting Darwin Núñez was benched in their Europa League fixture. So I think we've all come to the conclusion that Darwin Núñez is likely to start this weekend at home against Fulham. And it's a good fixture. It's a good fixture. I'd prefer it to Bournemouth at home personally that Watkins has. Then on Wednesday, they have Sheffield United away. Can I confidently sit here and tell you that Darwin Núñez is going to play against Sheffield United away? Absolutely not. We're taking a massive risk if we go for Darwin Núñez, it is worth noting. But even 30 minutes of Sheffield United away could deliver serious returns. They're that bad, Sheffield United. And then on the Saturday, they have Crystal Palace away. Again, do I expect Darwin Núñez to start that game? I don't know. But if he starts the Sunday game, doesn't start the Wednesday game. Would I expect him to play the Saturday game? Yes, I would. And could I see Liverpool doing okay against Palace? Yes, I could. So it's all about picking your moments sometimes in FPL. And for me, having one free transfer available and the risk that we have right now of Ollie Watkins, I feel inclined to pull the trigger on Watkins to Darwin Núñez. I'm in a position right now where my overall rank is 422k. I could play defensive, keep Ollie Watkins knowing that it's the probably safe template move and it probably makes sense to keep him. But what if? What if Darwin Núñez does go off? And I feel like I am very tempted to make that risky move this weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to get back into the questions, so I know you guys have been very patient over me rambling about my team, and I do want to deep dive, but please do let me know in the comment section what you do with this situation. But let's get straight into the comments. As I said, I've done the Bowen to Mbeumo move, and I'm very tempted to do the Watkins to Darwin move. We'll discuss that a bit more later. Let's get back into these questions. Jack, Raya or Areola to start this weekend? Raya every day of the week. He will come back into between the sticks for Arsenal. Field, Hwang or Cash? Well, Wolves this weekend, just to remind ourselves, have Arsenal away, which is a very difficult fixture. But Cash is obviously a little bit of a minutes risk, some of us believe. So I'd probably lean towards Hwang and hope that they catch Arsenal on the counter-attack. I think Wolves have been a very good team this year. No news on Bowen. I do apologise. I will be astonished if we get anything between now and the deadline. It is worth noting. Have done Saka and Darwin in for my free transfers. Should I do a -4 for Gabriel or take out Matoma for Gibbs, White, Gordon or Kudos? No, I would not be selling Matoma. He played midweek for Brighton. He has a Chelsea team with no Reece James on that side, and Malagusto is a potential risk. For me, I would keep Matoma. Chelsea defensively are pretty woeful right now. Ahmed is saying, end of my suffering and tell me to get rid of Bowen and Watkins and take his. Ahmed, I cannot be that man. I do apologise. If I had to prioritise selling one of those, though, I would probably prioritise selling Bowen to Mbeumo. That's the way I'm viewing it right now. Do I start Watkins in a 3-5-3 or Palmer in a 3-5-2? Okay, so I'm guessing a 3-4-3. Otherwise, you've got some sort of hack on the game and you need to tell me what it is. Look. If you're going to keep Palmer, you have to start him. And I think what will happen is Watkins either starts or he gets 0 minutes. So I would start Watkins myself in a 3-4-3 formation. And then knowing that Palmer would come in as my first sub and enable a 3-5-2 formation. Alexander, I hope you're well, mate. Hey, Nacho, my defence are Cash, Guy, Gusto, Lascelles and Shimikas. With 2 free transfers, prioritise the defence or get out Bruno for Palmer. Look. This situation right now with Bruno Fernandes is really difficult because Man United are so unpredictable right now. However, it's a guy who's going to play every single minute this season. And over this festive period, he could prove to be a fantastic differential. So for me, I think your defence could easily field itself this weekend. I could play Shimikas, Lascelles, and you take your pick between Gusto, Guy and Cash. But with 1 free transfer available, obviously you do want to try and make a move. Do I like Bruno de Palma? I don't love it. It's worth noting. The only way I'll do Bruno de Palma is if it was to free up funds for you to clearly make a move elsewhere in your team. Otherwise, I would be looking at that and thinking to myself, could I get an Arsenal defender this weekend? And I think the answer is yes. And I probably would look at maybe selling Matty Cash this weekend for an Arsenal defender. Are Kudos or Watkins playing? Unfortunately, at Cash, we do not have that information right now. I'm hoping we do get something, but it's worth noting it is a 1:30 p.m. deadline. We could get a leak later on today. It isn't as time pressing as it usually is on a game week. So make sure you do follow some of the big accounts. I'm going to recommend Let's Talk FPL, and I'm also going to recommend FPL Focal. He has said that he had a contact from Aston Villa who provided accurate news in previous seasons. So he might get some news before the deadline. So my advice would be closer to the deadline, make sure you are following FPL Focal and Let's Talk FPL. Some good accounts. They aren't going to be absolute gurus and know everything, but they could know something. And it's good to keep yourself in the know with these sort of great content creators. Caleb, -4 for Watkins to Darwin. Okay, so for those that are asking regarding the Watkins to Darwin situation, for a -4, I don't love it as much. The reason being is Watkins does, remember, play every minute of every game once he is available. So I don't think any of us anticipate Watkins to be a long-term player out for Villa. It probably is the case he misses Bournemouth straight back in for Man City. And we need to remember, 17, Brentford away, not too bad. And then in game week 18, an amazing fixture, probably the best fixture, at home against Sheffield United. And what is game week 18? A blank game week. So if you are selling Ollie Watkins, just remember, you are selling a player who has arguably the best fixture in game week 18, which is a blank with Sheffield United at home. Do I love it for a -4? No. Could it pay itself off in one game week? Absolutely. And the reason being is because Darwin Núñez is, of course, a player that has such a high FPL ceiling. Now, let's get Darwin Núñez on the page a minute just to give us a reference point right now. So, if you were to do Watkins for a -4 to Darwin Núñez, I personally think he starts this weekend at home against Fulham. So, happy days. He starts off at -4, but realistically, if I sat here and said to you, Darwin Núñez gets 4 big chances and misses all of them, are you surprised? Absolutely not. But on the flip side, if I sat here and said to you, Darwin Núñez got a hat-trick, would you be surprised? Probably, but what I'm trying to say is he's one of those players that has such an incredible high ceiling that he could go off this weekend. And if you were doing a -4 from Watkins to Darwin, he's the only player I would consider a -4 to do so, because I personally believe he is one of the few forwards alongside Erling Haaland that has that incredible high ceiling where he could go off. Like, if we look at him here, he's had not many double-digit hauls, it's worth noting. He's only had one in game week 10 and in game week 3. But when I do look at his expected goal involvement, he is right up there with numbers similar to that of Erling Haaland in games. So I do think he has the potential to go off in game weeks. Do I love it for a -4? That's the only thing I don't love it for a -4. Ariel Little Rare, which one to start? The answer there is going to be Rare. Will Ben White start today? It sounds like Ben White is now available for selection. The only problem with it is that Tomiyasu's been doing very well for Arsenal. So I don't think it's as simple as Ben White available takes the place of Tomiyasu. So I will be a little bit conscious, but I probably would just keep Ben White this weekend and hope for the best. I don't think it is a desperate sell. Sam saying, do I sell Son? It's a tricky one because the question is, do I sell Son? But I need a little bit of context. Who are you looking to buy? What does the rest of your midfield look like? If you were saying to me right now, do I think Son is going to go off against Man City? Probably not. Do I think Son could score against Man City? Yes, I do think he has the capability to score against Man City. The big thing about it is, who are you looking to bring in? If it's someone like a Cole Palmer, I'd then say to you, is it actually worth the move unless you are getting the funds to invest elsewhere? I'm just double checking here. Sorry guys, I've got a message here, so I'm just double checking here. Sorry guys, I was just double checking some news there. Right, let's get back to it. I do apologise. And also, if you haven't liked already, please do consider dropping a like on the live stream. It'd be massively appreciated. See, we have like over 100 people, which is very unusual. So thank you so much for those that are tuning in right now. I got to say this, obviously, but you are tuning in to the Football Content Award Silver Award for video. Just saying, just putting it out there. Thank you for those that did vote, by the way. Absolute massive surprise. It was kind of like Great Britain winning Eurovision, to be honest with you, is the way I only described that situation. Right, let's get back into this one right now. Is Archer worthy to start this week? I mean, I realistically wouldn't be starting Archer unless you really needed to. Like, Burnley's not a bad fixture, but I just would say to you, like, what is the rest of your team looking like, really? Turner to Kelleher for a -4? No, I do not like that for a -4. Who is your other goalkeeper is the question. Mohammed, thanks, mate. No worries at all. Kelleher or Strakosha? Well, I like Kelleher for next 3. So Kelleher would be the answer in that situation if you were buying fresh right now. Should I sell Alvarez, Bowen or Almiron, and for who? Well, I wouldn't be selling Alvarez right now because Man City are about to come into a fantastic fixture run. If you look at it here, Spurs at home, yes, I know that could be tricky on paper, but look at the defensive injuries they have. I think Alvarez is a great player this week. Then Aston Villa away. Not a bad fixture. I think Aston Villa are obviously a fantastic team, but defensively, I don't feel like Man City couldn't get any joy against them. Then Luton away, Palace at home with their injury worries of Decore being out is going to really hinder them. Yes, they do have a blank, which is a bit of an issue, but then after that, Everton, Sheffield United, Newcastle, and then Burnley. Great long-term fixture. So I wouldn't looking to sell Alvarez. Bowen is a bit more of a priority. I think Bowen to Mbeumo makes sense. The reason why I sold Bowen to Mbeumo, I just didn't want a stress-free. I just want a stress-free life. I'm being honest with you. Sometimes in FPL, you can't let it kind of dictate your life. And for me, if I was going into this game week with Bowen in my team and I was here like stressing, I just don't think it's worth it. I had 2 free transfers myself. Bowen to Mbeumo made complete sense. If you're in the same situation, I'm just going to say to you this: Do you have a strong enough bench to replace Bowen? If the answer is no, do Bowen to Mbeumo, get it done. If not, if you just want to be stress-free, I probably do advise just doing Bowen to Mbeumo and getting it done. Alexander, my team is Raya Johnston. Okay, so I'll be starting Raya first and foremost this week. Saliba, guarantee starter for you. Akanji, Eric Dyer, Harry Maguire. Alexander, we need words. You have Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire in your team. That's outrageous. And Mikalenko. Wow, okay. Sorry. Mbeumo, Bowen, Saka, Salah, Palmer, Watkins, Haaland, and Osulu. Okay. I have one free transfer. What should I do? Johnson to Kelly? Well, absolutely not Johnson to Kelly, because it's just such a redundant move, because Raya has a fantastic fixture at home against Wolves. So that just feels like such a pointless move for your team. So first and foremost, the way I'd play your 11 right now is I'll start Raya, definitely start Saliba. I would definitely start... Ooh, you got a tricky one in defence. I mean, I wouldn't be starting Eric Dyer. I would start Maguire over Maguire over Eric Dyer myself, even though they're playing against Newcastle. I'd play a Kanji, because my thing to you is, if you have a Kanji, you just got to start him and hope for the best. In terms of... And I was playing Mikalenko against Nottingham Forest. Mbeumo, great. Bowen, Saka, Salah, Palmer, Watkins, Haaland, and you have one free transfer. Okay, so your bench is a little bit woeful if, for example, Watkins doesn't play this weekend, or Bowen. For one free transfer, you have a decent midfield, so I don't really think there's any natural replacement for Jared Bowen. Watkins to Darwin Núñez would be a consideration for me in that situation with your team. Otherwise, I'll be looking to make a defensive move. And my question to you would be, have you got the funds available to maybe do an Eric Dyer to a Gabriel? You can't, because you have 3 Arsenal already. I do apologise. So that isn't on the cards. I would consider Watkins to Darwin in your situation, because your team is very unique. Very unique. Stuck to Bowen and Watkins, or sold them? Question mark from Goodman. Again, it all comes down to what kind of stress-free life you want to have. For me, I wanted to do Bowen to Mbeumo to get it done, so I got it done, and I think it is a good move. I'd rather do Bowen to Mbeumo than Watkins to Darwin, is my thought. Nico saying, thoughts on selling Solanke to a cheap forward like Mabama so I can upgrade Eze to Mbeumo for my 2 free transfers, 0 in the bank? Yes, I don't mind that move, actually. I think that's a wise move. But is Solanke down to Mabama mean you only have one forward? Let me know that. Because if you're only playing Haaland each week, then that might be a problem from a team structure perspective. Prangs and Mash, thoughts on Diaby and Udogie for Gibbs, White and Saliba? Or should I prioritise getting Watkins out? No, I like those moves. I think Diaby could do very well this week. It is worth noting. So you are taking a little bit of a risk, but I don't mind it. I don't mind that move personally. FPL Noak saying, my wildcard is Raya and Sanchez. Okay. Quite a bit of money invested there. It's worth noting. And I think you're going to struggle to pick who you want to vote each and every week. Saliba, Pedro Porro, don't mind that. Shimikas, Pinnock, Lascelles. Okay. Salah, Saka, Mbeumo, Gordon, Palmer. Decent. Haaland, Núñez. Yes, I like that. Obviously, you could free up some funds in this team and maybe downgrade someone like a Sanchez if you want to. But yeah, I like the team. I think it's really good. In terms of benching for this week, you obviously bench your goalkeeper in Sanchez. You'd have to start Saliba. You'd have to start Shimikas. And I think you'd have to start Pinnock. So you'd bench Pedro Porro and Lascelles. I probably would look to play Haaland, Núñez and Isak personally. And I would look to bench Gordon. That's the way I would look at it. What if I have Bowen and Watkins? I have Mbeumo. Okay, so if you have Bowen and Watkins, my answer probably would be keep Bowen and potentially consider Watkins to Darwin Núñez if you believe you need to. Guy for Saliba. Yes, I don't mind that move at all. I think that's solid. I don't see many clean sheets coming through in the next few weeks. Good morning from Norway, Mads. Hope you're doing well. Already done Bowen to Mbeumo. Considering Eze to Palmer and cash to Gabriel for a -4. Already got Saliba. Good moves. Yes, on paper, those are really good moves. Do I think it could repay you with -4 this week? No. Could it repay you over the next 3? I do think it can. So yes, I do like those moves. Otherwise, yeah, I don't mind those moves because it's restructuring your team quite well. Otherwise, maybe just cash to Gabriel and you just ride out Eze for another week. Otherwise, yes, I do like those moves. What do you think about Doku captain? I have a feeling. Is it Johannes? Johannes, if you have a feeling about Doku, honestly, don't let me convince you not to go there. End of the day, captaincy, FPL, all these things are about that gut feeling sometimes. And if you have that big feeling, go for it. But do I think Salah and Haaland are better options? Yes, I do. Watkins or Lindelof, who should I start? I personally would start Watkins because I think he either gets 0 minutes or he starts. I don't see a situation where Unai Emery benches him and brings him on for the last 20 because they're going to want him fresh for their fixtures against Man City and Arsenal. So I would play Watkins and hope for the best. Benji, I don't like Turner to Kelly for a -4. I just don't think that's going to repay it at all. Tony Holanacher, big fan of yours. Subscribe to your channel too. Keep up the good work. Tony, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. And again, guys, if you're not subscribed already, obviously I'm not going to sit here and say to you, you have to subscribe. But what I'm going to say to you is, if you are enjoying the content, it'd be awesome to have you as a subscriber this weekend. Trying to put out as much content as possible, and hopefully it provides some value. That's all I'm hoping to do, is provide as much value as possible to you guys. I see we got a new member, which is absolutely sick. Dave Lister, hope you're doing well, my friend. I will drop you a message later. Going to be changing the structure in terms of my members area, so it's going to be a lot more content coming basically from this week, next week onwards. So I do apologize to those who are members currently. It's been really slack because of the busy kind of period personally, but thank you so much for becoming a member. Dave, I will obviously drop you a message. Again, for those that are interested in becoming a member of the channel, please do check it out. Link is in the bio. It's awesome to support the channel, but honestly, guys, it is difficult in this day and age right now to obviously support content creators. It's ridiculous right now, the cost of living. So please do not feel inclined to do that at all. With everything going on in the world, there are much more important things. It is obviously very generous for you to do that, my friend. Sean, -4 for Watkins to Darwin, already done Bowen to Mbeumo and cash to Saliba. Look, I think in this situation, a -4 could pay off. I've said this before, but do you have a bench that could cover off Watkins? If you're really blessed with a solid first bench, then maybe just don't do the -4. But you know what you're getting with Darwin. You're getting an absolute frustrating player, like so frustrating, but it's just what he could go off. He could deliver, and that's the exciting part. Would I take a -4 to get a Arsenal defender? Who's selling? That's the big question. Hi, mate. Should I do cash to Saliba from -4? I don't love it for -4, but could it pay itself off long term? Yes, I do think it could. So it's all about what your rest of the defenders are basically in this situation. I may have a parcel coming. Let me just listen out for the doorbell. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. I need to check if this is for me. Is it for me, this parcel? 2 seconds. What a nightmare. Is it for me? I don't think so. Sorry, guys. Let's keep going. Sorry, I had to check if I had anyone at the door right now because I thought I had a parcel. Do not worry about it. I'm back. Right. What have I missed? What have I missed? I don't want to miss any, but the chat has kind of skipped past those. Right. Taylor or Pinnock to start this week. Pinnock will be the answer for me. Also offers goal threat from corners, set pieces, which is fantastic. What do you think about Doku? I've covered that one off. Cash to Porro next week for a -4. Next week, looking at the fixtures for Spurs, don't mind it. I know Newcastle at home is tricky, but Newcastle have got a dirty run of fixtures, and the AC Milan game is so important for them. I think they're going to have to eventually get to a situation where they kind of prioritise the Champions League game. So I think Pedro Porro is a really good investment from game week 15 because on paper, the Newcastle game looks really, really tough. But 3 days after that, they have AC Milan Newcastle. So they might just be burnt out at this point and need to prioritise that game. So I actually think Pedro Porro is a fantastic investment. The only thing I would say to you is this. clean sheets are very, very far and few between with Spurs. So you are basically paying for Pedro Porro just for that potential attacking output. And we obviously are then reliant on him each and every week. But Pedro Porro has been phenomenal going forward. And it's honestly ridiculous that they haven't had many returns for those that have owned him. Guys, thanks for voting in the poll. I'm just going to end the poll because something I'm really curious about. Curious is this one. Will you own Mbeumo this weekend? I'm really intrigued to know what the active community. So, will you own Mbeumo in game week 14? I want this just to be a real quick poll, just to be kind of understanding of, yes, it looks like the whole world is going there right now, but are they actually? That's the interesting thing. If we take a look at the current transfers in for this week, just to give you guys an idea, Mbeumo is by far and away the most bought player. 635,000 transfers in. Next best is Gordon at 472, but you can see here Jared Bowen, 708,000 transfers out. So people are selling them. The one that I love to see, Son, has been sold by 406,000 FPL managers, which is outrageous. Now, we're going to come back into the questions, guys, because obviously I do not want to be missing anything in here. But what I also want to show you, which is so sick, obviously I do bits of Fantasy Football Fix, and they have a Google Chrome extension, which is totally free, which incorporates a free long-term planner and the price changes app onto the official website. It's an absolute joke. Not many people know about it, and it's honestly the best around. So I'm just going to click on Planner, that red one there. And this is on the official site, by the way. It's so damn good. You literally comes up with a planner, and I can just skip through multiple weeks and see how my team looks each and every week. So I just want to give you a bit of an idea here. Let's just reset my draft. I've already done the Mbeumo move. Let's say I pull the trigger and do Watkins to Darwin Núñez, because I would love to do it. This is how my team would look for this weekend, and I would be left with 1.1 million in the bank, which is a real strong situation to be in. Obviously, 0 transfers available left. So that would be my team for this week, which would be fantastic. I still have Livramento on the bench, looking really good. Going into game week 15, my goalkeeper's a problem away against Spurs, but do I really want to make a goalkeeper move? Probably not. In terms of my defence, I would play Guy over Taylor, and I would go for my double Arsenal defence with Luton away. It's just, you have to play him in that fixture. And it's also worth noting, this game week 15 is going to be midweek, so owning those players that are guaranteed minutes has become even more important, whereas someone like a Livramento offers great clean sheet and attacking potential for Everton away, but can I confidently sit here and say that he is going to play this weekend and midweek? I don't really know the answer to that with Lewis Hall waiting in the wings. So I want to play the players that are going to play guaranteed minutes. And I would say Son, Saka, Mbeumo, Salah, Haaland are all of those players. I think Cole Palmer could be a little bit of a problem later down the line over this festive period, especially with the introduction of Nkunku, but I would start him away against Man United. And then I would have Darwin away against Sheffield United. Now, of course, previously that would have been Ollie Watkins, but he would have been at home against Man City. And looking at this, even though Darwin Núñez would be a risk, obviously, I would keep him for this game and just pray he does get another start against Sheffield United. Now, in terms of the fixtures, the best fixtures for game week 15, already have triple up on Arsenal. Don't really want to go into Bournemouth personally, because I don't think that's the greatest fixture. Burnley, not going to be buying any of those. Palace, I don't want to invest in. I already have Mark Guy. Fulham, I don't really feel intrigued. Liverpool, I would love to get another asset, but I just don't really know who else I could afford. Outside of that, I don't really feel like I'm missing many players for the game week 15, so I'd be very inclined to roll my free transfer in game week 15, and all of a sudden, we come into game week 16 with a team like this. I would have Areola away against Fulham, and this obviously is in a week's time, game week 16, remember. Defensively, I'd be in a bit of a problem. I'd have Saliba and Gabriel away against Aston Villa, which is not ideal. I'd have Mark Guy at home against Liverpool, so I most likely would lean towards the Livramento pick in that week, which, again, is not good because I have a lot of players playing against one another. Palmer away against Everton, Son at home against Newcastle. The only real good fixtures here is going to be Haaland away against Luton and potentially the Liverpool boys away against Crystal Palace alongside Mbeumo, obviously. So, looking at the fixtures for game week 16, I would quite like to get myself an investment in maybe a Chelsea defender, even though I don't rate them. I think Reece James could become an enabler for us. And also the other player that could be considered in this is a Man City player. The only issue, if you do get tempted by the Luton fixture in game week 16, is you bring in a Man City player who is going to blank in game week 18. And all of a sudden, if I, for example, looked at my team and thought, you know what, I'm going to sell Son for Foden. All of a sudden, I have Foden, Haaland and Mbeumo all blanking in game week 18. And all of a sudden, my team starts to look a little bit dodgy in the long term. So I just want to kind of give you an idea of how my team's going to look for the next week, because the next week is actually 3 game weeks. So you're going to blink and 3 game weeks have passed in a week. So there's a lot to think about. Right, I rambled. Let's get back into the questions. I do apologise. Is White an optional? I'm really tempted. I personally wouldn't buy him this week because it does sound like Tomiyasu's played very well and it isn't as certain as cash just walking back into the team. So please just have a little bit of caution if you are investing in somebody like a Ben White this week. Also, he's very expensive, so it's quite hard to justify the price point there. Eddie saying, hi, Nacho, who should I play? Cash or Pedro Porro, or do I sell Cash for... I can't get an Arsenal defender. I have Gabriel and Trippier. What about Shaw? Don't mind Shaw, but it doesn't feel like the right entry point this week against Newcastle. I probably would just pay Pedro Porro and hope for the best. Thoughts on Darwin in for Watkins? Andrew, I've covered that quite a bit, mate. My assessment is this. If you have a free transfer available and you want to take a high upside pick, I like the Watkins to Darwin move. It's something that I'm considering right now. But for a -4 point hit, then I wouldn't necessarily be as inclined to do so. In terms of next week, personally, I do feel like if you were to make the move, you do it now rather than next week, because you're getting that brilliant home fixture for Darwin Núñez this weekend. Watkins to Isak or Darwin Núñez? I think this is a real interesting debate. I think Isak makes more sense from a guaranteed start perspective. However, we need to remember Newcastle have their biggest game of the season at home against AC Milan next week. So, sorry, not next week. They're basically going to do this weekend, midweek Premier League, weekend, Champions League, then weekend, then EFL Cup. Their team is going to get so stretched over this period. And Callum Wilson isn't too far away from a return. So I like Isak as a pick. I think he's a brilliant option. And also the great thing about Alexander Isak is that in game week 18, he has a brilliant fixture away against Luton. My only issue is, can I guarantee he's going to start if Callum Wilson is returned by then? And that's the answer. I don't know the answers to that one. Hi mate, I've got Watkins, Cash, Bowen in my starting 11 with a weak bench. If both Villa predicted out, would you take a hit? Because it probably pays off but feels wrong, not sure. Okay, so in your situation, I firstly would probably say to you, the way I rank them right now is I think Bowen to Mbeumo is probably the priority move if you are happy to sell him. Then I think Cash to an Arsenal defender, and then Watkins to Darwin Núñez is the fun kind of punty move. Is Bowen a sell? Alexander, the way I look at it right now is I just didn't want any stress going into game week 14. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't want to go into game week 14 looking at my team with Bowen yellow flagged, no idea if he's going to start, knowing that I have a free transfer to just simply bring in Mbeumo for a home game against Luton. If Mbeumo was away against a tough team, then it's very difficult. But when the fixture's so good and you have a free transfer, sometimes you just want to go stress-free. And my thought process was, let's just get it done. Get Bowen to Mbeumo done and accept what would be if Bowen starts and bangs a hat-trick against Crystal Palace. It just is what it is sometimes. You can't own them all. Andrew, is Archer good if Watkins is out this week? I think Archer will definitely start. Will he score in this low-scoring Sheffield United team? That's the only question mark. I think if Sheffield United do score, Archer probably will have some involvement. So it's not a bad situation to be in. Pope or Areola in goal this weekend. I mean, I prefer the Newcastle defence massively, so I probably would say Pope. But I know it's obviously a little bit riskier. Play Lascelles or Shah. Honestly, flip a coin. I probably would be inclined to start Shah. Is Trent a good option? Shaz. I would go as far as saying Trent is the best differential in the game, full stop. The reason why I say that, and let's just bring him up a minute. Now, let's forget about the goal against Man City because, that's not going to happen every single week. But he's 9% owned. The reason why he's 9% owned is because he's bloody 7.9 million. It's almost impossible to squeeze him into a team structure. But if you were in the fortunate position where you can get to Trent Alexander-Arnold, honestly, I think he's a phenomenal differential. Looking at the fixtures coming up, You know, first and foremost, he's going to play every game over this period. I'll be pretty surprised if he does get rotated, because he's just one of those guys. He's fit as a fiddle. Fulham at home, brilliant fixture. Sheffield United away, another fantastic fixture. Then Crystal Palace away. We need to remember, European football doesn't really matter to Alexander-Arnold, because Klopp has been rotating his team and not really giving minutes to the likes of Trent every single time. Then we have tricky games as 17 and 18, but over this 3-game week period, he is the best defender to buy in my eyes from an upside chasing perspective. I'm going to cover off a few more questions, and I really do apologise. I'm going to have to wrap it up. As you can tell, I've done an earlier live stream today because I am out later, so I didn't actually have time to do one at 12 o'clock for the 1:30 deadline, which obviously it is today. So don't panic. There is no deadline at 11 a.m. today. It's actually at 1:30 p.m. UK time. But unfortunately, I play football myself, and I don't actually have the luxury of streaming closer to the deadline. So I will have to wrap this up in a minute to do some other commitments before I go off and do my socializing on a Saturday. So I try and answer as many as I can right now in quick fire format. So I do apologize if I don't get to them. I'm going to try and answer as many as I can, and then we are going to wrap it up. As always, if you have enjoyed today's stream, I'm not going anywhere just yet. Don't worry. I know it sounds like a bit of an outro for the video. If you could drop a like on the stream, it is massively appreciated. Obviously, it's totally free. And if you're one of those that isn't a subscriber to the channel right now, don't worry, you don't have to be a subscriber. But if you are enjoying yourself, I would recommend, I know it's my own channel, becoming a subscriber. I try and drop as much content as possible, mostly daily videos. I'm hoping to have a great finish this season, and I really enjoy the community that we're building right now. So if you're enjoying yourself in this stream, my advice, stick around for a week as a subscriber. And if you don't enjoy what you're watching, simply unfollow me. I'm not going to take anything personal myself. So let's get into some of the last minute questions, and then we will wrap this stream up. Is Salah a good captain? Salah is a fantastic captain. He is right there alongside Erling Haaland as one of the best captaincies this week. Akshat saying, cashless Saliba already done on a free transfer before the price changes. I have one free transfer left. Bowen, Watkins to Saka and Darwin, or Bowen, Diaby to Saka, Palmer, -4. Don't have funds for Bowen, Saka direct. Okay, so you've already done that move, which is fine, and you have one free transfer left. Can you not just do Bowen to Mbeumo? I think Bowen to Mbeumo is a good move. Otherwise, of what you have said, I prefer you doing Bowen and Watkins to Saka and Darwin. Personally, I think you're getting a good long-term pick in Saka, and you're getting an upside chasing pick in Darwin Núñez. Quick question for game week 15. I've got Iwoni sat on my bench, but also want to move Diaby on, but will only have one free transfer. Is it worth taking a hit to bring in Isak and Palmer? Is it worth it for a hit? Probably not for this week in isolation, but over the long term, yes, I think it will be, because Iwoni is obviously ruled out, and you're bringing in a fantastic player in Isak for the next 3. So yes, I don't mind that move at all. Let me just make sure that is sorted. Udogie or Anderson to start. I would probably go for Anderson, because I really think Man City could put 3 goals up against Spurs today. Who do I start, Colwell or Baldock? I think Colwell returns back into the team, so I'm going to say Colwell in this situation. How to enable the planner. Lawrence, I would advise going onto the Fantasy Football Fix site to check out their guide. I believe they have a free guide on how to incorporate it in. So go check that out. Otherwise, I will check it out myself. I can't remember how I've done it exactly. I don't want to give you the wrong information. I do apologise. My midfield is Salah, Saka, Sterling and Mbeumo, Gordon. That's a fantastic midfield bunch, I think. Obviously, the situation with you right now is Sterling with 4 yellow cards. Just be cautious. If he does get another one today, he will get a 1-game ban. Okay, I really do apologise, guys. We are going to have to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for all your questions. There are so many fantastic content creators out there doing the business today. So please do check out their live streams and go support them in the lead up to the Game Week 14 deadline. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. An amazing live stream. Awesome to have your support once again. As I said, I am planning on doing my Watkins to Darwin Núñez move, but I am going to try and wait to as close as possible to the deadline to see if we do get any sort of team leaks from Aston Villa. I know they're not playing today, but we sometimes get some news from in the knows about whether they are going to be involved in the squad or not. I know it's a chasing move, but it is a little bit upside that I like the temptation of. And Bowen to Mbeumo has already been done. Thanks so much, guys.